Earlier this year, we went to London's Excel Centre to attend TechXLR8. We got to meet with a lot of great-minded people working with modern technologies such as 5G and artificial intelligence, including one company that is working tirelessly to raise the bar when it comes to speech recognition and analysis. That company is Cobalt Speech. And we had the pleasure of spending some time with Cobalt's founder and CEO, Jeff Adams, to talk about how Cobalt has been advancing speech recognition and improving voice assistance. Take a look.
I was, through an acquisition, I ended up at Amazon and ended up leading the team that was responsible for building the Alexa platform for the speech and natural language understanding. So you asked what NLU was. So NLP is a more broad general term, any sort of natural language processing. NLU is a specific part within NLP that deals with taking natural language and understanding. So what are they talking about? Projects that we undertook was with a company that is diagnosing diseases and health conditions through people's speech. So by listening to you speak, it turns out there are clues in your speak, the way you speak, the words you choose and so forth, that could indicate that you might have depression or Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's or a stroke. There are a number of conditions that are obvious through your speech. They may not be obvious to the average person, but if you train a machine learning based system to key in on certain features, we can diagnose these things.
What kind of accuracy are you getting out of that sort of thing? Because obviously it's
so I don't want to. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, anyone can predict anything with a low level of accuracy.
But it's easy, for example, to confuse someone who simply has slurred speech or a lisp or something of a similar nature.
Exactly, that's right. Some of our early results on with this company, the company's called Canary Speech, and some of our early results with Canary indicate that we can diagnose Alzheimer's disease, for example, more accurately than current medical tests.
So you've exceeded human participants?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'd be careful about claiming that, because these were not careful studies that have been validated and so forth. But the early indications are that we have a very accurate system for certain diseases. It's not entirely surprising if you think about human speech is a very complex process that involves the brain, the nervous system, the lungs, the motor of the mouth, and so forth. All of that works together, and if something is wrong with your body, there's a good chance it'll affect one of those systems, and then something will come out in the speech that might indicate that.
And
so it's exciting.
What sort of technologies are you using to do that prediction? Is it just your bog standard neural networks, or?
Well,
is it something more sophisticated, more in-house that you've developed?
So first of all, it's proprietary.
Yes.
So I won't spell it all out for you. But I will say that what we do is we identify a number of features that might include what words you say, the pitch of your voice, the loudness of your voice, the speed that you're speaking, the amount of energy in different frequency bands of your speech, and then it gets quite technical.
Yeah.
And so we may have dozens or hundreds of these features, and then we've trained a classifier that can identify, by putting all of those features together, that can identify whether, how likely you are to fall into a disease category or not disease category.
So those are doctors you work with?
I'm sorry, say again?
Those are doctors you work with?
So we do work with doctors in doing that. In this particular case, we were fortunate to find a data set of recordings of people calling into a telephone support line, and it was a hospital support line, I'll say, so that we could correlate that with their eventual disease status, so that even if someone was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2018, we have telephone calls going back to 2013. and so we can see the progression of the disease over the years for that person. We're very fortunate to have that data set, have access to that data set.
Were those phone calls recorded for training purposes?
Yes. Yeah. So we use that for training purposes and testing. We set up.
You guys are based in the US. I assume patients also.
This was in the U.S. The patients were in the U.S. We've had some interest from companies in other countries as well to extend this, and other languages. And so we are working on extending and broadening and taking this to other countries. We have worked with a number of companies that are in the Fortune 100, as well as a lot of startups. This is all. We have sort of a social mission to democratize speech technology and make it available to people who have a clever idea and are trying to start their own company. And in many cases, someone wants to do something novel and innovative with speech or language analysis, and we don't want to exclude them because they're not a big wealthy company. We can often be very creative at finding a way to justify or fund work that we do with a small startup, for example. And sometimes sometimes we might accept a small amount of money combined with maybe some equity in the company or a revenue sharing program or something like that to help justify our getting involved with them.